Hey everyone, welcome back. So I'm here in my workshop. Just wanted to do this video for some time now. It's about using your EMT credential in different ways. I apologize for the noise in the background. That's the lighting. I am currently in my workshop, so you'll hear that noise throughout the video. Um, but like I mentioned, I want to talk about alternatives to using your EMT credential, and it might be different for some of you folks. I'm here in Los Angeles, California, so LA County. These are positions I've had all over the county compared to the state, but it's going to be more specific to California and, of course, more specific to Los Angeles. But from my experience, there are multiple positions like this all over the country. And some other caveats. Um, I am a military veteran, so that has helped me along with these positions, and I also have a 4-year degree. But to be honest, if I didn't have my EMT credential, I don't think I would have gotten any of these positions. Before I talk about the positions, let's remember that the EMT credential is entry level. Where I got my EMT credential, it was a 180-hour course plus 2 ride-alongs on an ambulance, giving you minimal patient contact. I was on a 911 provider for my ride-alongs, and the whole 24 hours total on the ambulance that I was on, we probably had about 6 patients. So it's not that much, even though we had traumas, we had a stroke victim, we had a couple anaphylaxis. 6 patients in 180 hours. It's not that much. It's an entry-level course. University of UCLA, University of Los Angeles, they offer a 1-month accelerated EMT course. At community colleges, normally it's a couple months. Adult schools offer them. It's not the easiest course, but it's not the hardest course either. I remember for my community college class, we started out with 50, and then roughly 25 people dropped or failed out. So again, it's not the easiest, not the hardest, but it is entry level, right? A lot of people use it as gateways to get their nursing credential. You need it in order to get your paramedic. Some people just need a job, and then some people are only getting it to become firefighters because it's required here in California. So use your EMT credential and pair it with something else. And you want to be able to pair your EMT with other stuff. You want to be able to get some actual patient experience before these options are available. It's going to be pretty hard to just graduate from your EMT course and then expect to land a lot of these jobs, because people aren't going to hire you. You're not going to get your dream job right out of school. I know when I enrolled in the EMT program, I was pursuing my degree. I knew my long-term goal was not to be a firefighter EMT. I would say 90, maybe 95% of those in the class did want to be firefighter EMTs. Most of them wanted to be paramedics and move on. My end goal for me was emergency management, so that is one of the positions I'll be talking about. But I knew what my end goal was, and I knew I was going to use the EMT credential to get me there. One issue we all have is, how do we get experience, right? They won't hire you without experience, and you can get experience without a job. So how do you get experience? For me, I knew it was education, training, and experience. Just those 3 things are what help you get any position or get you the job, the career, dream job that you want. So taking classes, even if they don't currently apply to your current position. So when I got my EMT credential, I made sure I upgraded or got the wilderness EMT training as well. So I got the wilderness first responder through NOLS. I've taken disaster preparedness, emergency management. I've taken TECC. I've been in the military. I've done combat lifesaver. I took some executive protection courses, some kind of security, medical, different things that would help me. People don't always understand why you're doing these things. They say, hey, that's more for a paramedic, that's more for an respiratory therapist, that's for a nurse. So a lot of people won't understand, but you need to be able to get out of your comfort zone, pay for these courses, attend these courses if they're offered through your employer. I remember I took this urban humanitarian emergency course that was put on by Harvard, and a lot of people there were medical directors or doctors, PhDs, humanitarians for the Red Cross, for other organizations. And I remember people asking me, "Oh, why is this EMT here? What does he have to take away from this course?" They didn't know my end goal. They didn't know what other qualifications I had. I knew I wanted to be there to be able to help out in case a humanitarian crisis ever happened. So I took that course, and that got me talking to different people, experiencing different cultures, different environments. Got me to travel to Massachusetts, visit Harvard. So interesting course, but get out of your comfort zone, volunteer, sign up for any opportunity, and take training. So position number one, my first position as an EMT was working on a IFT, CCT, and they offered event kind of staffing as well. So all that with my EMT credential, and that was because I wanted to get that experience. I jumped on a 24-hour rig, so doing 24-hour shifts, helping out. Initially, it was just EMT and EMT, kind of just doing the simple dialysis calls, the sniff calls, discharge calls. And eventually, they had a program, some in-house training to be able to provide more training so you can work with paramedics, nurses, and RTs. So after being there for a couple months, as soon as they offered that course, I signed up for it, started working with paramedics, get you a little bit more experience, to more critical calls, started working with registered nurses, with RTs, and that just builds up your medical knowledge that you can take later to other positions. But again, you want to start off slow. I know a lot of people say those are the boring calls, they want to work on a 911, but again, you need to be able to actually apply what you learned in school, and I think working for an IFT is a perfect opportunity to learn at a slower pace, to actually learn about the patient and long-term care. I remember my longest transport was about 2 hours. So being stuck with that patient in the back of the rig, and that's your patient. We had some calls again with the RN, and depending who you worked with, they're willing to talk to you and kind of teach you more things, because in case shit hit the fan, they knew that you were their only help. For the number two position, this was working physical security and EMT. So it was kind of like executive protection. We did do executive protection for certain VIPs and clients that visited. This was for a company that had government contracts with the Department of Defense, certain intelligence agencies, and again, foreign countries. So we had a lot of people, a lot of high-profile people coming through. As soon as they knew I had my EMT credential, got a pay bump, they started including me in the training for all the officers. All the officers were certified in CPR, BLS, and first aid. So they got me training them, doing weekly drills, monthly drills, kind of recommending gear, outfitting the officers, and then doing, again, executive protection for certain VIPs, right? VIPs, you get to the walk through, and you find out, hey, they have these medical conditions, kind of stage to the gear. And it was interesting because we were located in LA County, so we got to work with LA County Fire a lot. Got to work with McCormick, who was LA County's transport, and they always knew, hey, this person's an EMT. We're gonna get a proper pass down, proper patient handoff, because they know what they're doing. Opposed to when other of the EP officers worked, they weren't so sure. All they knew was CPR and first aid. But having that EMT and having gained that prior experience on the IFT ambulance allowed me to operate outside the ambulance, because we no longer had a full rig just waiting by for us. We had what we had on our person, on our gear, and then also what we had in the vehicles, especially for special events and when we knew VIPs were gonna be there. But it's not the same as having a whole BLS or ALS rig. But definitely a great position. Number three position for EMTs would be being a medical instructor. So this can be in regards to being an EMT tutor, EMT refresher, skills tester, helping people pass their NREMT, being a CPR instructor, a stop the bleed instructor, first aid. So I've done this for some time. Got my teaching credentials, my instructor credentials, and I have a lot of friends that are EMTs, nurses, and paramedics. And every 2 years they need to recertify. Or it's always good. Some people are out there looking for certain positions that require certain credentials, so they hit me up and they call me, hey, I need this, so provide some training on the side. And it's always good when the employer knows that they're able to bring these capabilities in-house. It's a lot cheaper to buy you the gear, especially already had a lot of this gear, the mannequins, the trainer ADs. I had experience conducting these drills and training, so it's always cheaper when one of your instructors is in-house. And again, being able to help out. So it's a good side hustle. If you want to make it full-time, definitely work. I know a lot of people like to include firearms instruction with it, kind of teach the TECC, start doing all that tactical training. But in my opinion, the bread and butter is the credentials that people need every 2 years, right? Again, your CPR and your first aid and stop the bleed. Those are the ones your employers require. Those are the ones that you need to renew every 2 years, again, to renew your EMT license, your paramedic license. So those are easier to kind of market and sell and actually make money doing. Okay, for number 4, we have medical supplies, selling medical supplies and kind of consulting on medical gear. So I've done this one as well in the past. A lot of clients come to me and they want specialized information. So anyone can go to Amazon or go to REI or Walmart and buy a first aid kit, one from CVS, and you know the kind of the quality and the caliber of those kits. Some people, they're gonna go on a hunting trip or they're gonna go backpacking, so they'll come to me and say, hey, what type of kit do you recommend? So I working one-on-one, I can ask them, hey, what's your experience with kits? How long are you use it? What type of supplies? What's your range from cell phone coverage, from a hospital, from a trauma center? Again, are you certified? We can train them up if need be, but be able to get them a kit that they're comfortable with, opposed to just saying, this is the latest and greatest trauma kit, here you go, good luck using it, right? A kit is only as good as those that, as what you know how to use inside the kit. So selling, again, AEDs to certain companies, restocking kits, such as the Cal OSHA kits, response bags that people use in executive protection or security, or on campus, college campuses, hospital campuses. All those kits, while you might not have the EMT credential, it's easier to advocate or push or sell these equipment because you know what you're talking about. You've used it and you're not just selling pointless gear, so you know how to market it to certain companies. It's definitely less hands-on patient care, but having that EMT credential gives you, in a sense, the authority to kind of speak upon this gear. But it's a good position, pays well. But if you're looking for that patient care, that hands-on, and it's not really for this position, but again, it's something else you can do on the side. So you can have your EMT position, you can have your executive protection position, and then on the side sell some tactical medical gear. Again, sell pocket CPR masks, sell AEDs to employers or to companies looking for them, because you're using this equipment and it's easy for you to vouch for this equipment. So number 5, this is security and EMT, security/EMT. So for this current position, I worked for a research lab that they weren't necessarily looking for the executive protection. It wasn't more the physical security. They wanted someone to do the everyday type security, doing the rounds, doing patrolling, checking fire alarms, responding to fire alarms, but also having the EMT credential. So from the backstory, they got tired of calling 911 for small things, paper cuts, or whenever anyone felt dizzy, they were dehydrated, small little things that sometimes it didn't warrant calling 911. So they got tired of doing that. But then they realized when something was serious, it took too long for the 911 provider to actually show up. So they wanted some stopgap measure. So by hiring security officers that were also required to have their EMT credential, for those small calls, we can easily just, let them know it's first aid, provide the first aid. For the serious calls, which we had a lot of serious calls, traumas, anaphylaxis shock, syncope episodes, car crashes, people cutting their fingers off, all these things, be able to provide patient care until the ALS providers show up, the paramedics, the transport company. So again, being able to help out. This program was fairly new at the research lab I was working, so one of the first couple hires, so we had to help outfit the crew, new gear, new training, kind of recommend this program that we helped start from start to finish. So I was able to take the lead on that program. Added tourniquets, they had basic first aid kits, recommending tactical training that we provided. We had a great medical director, so being able to help out with just training and kind of signing us off on certain things. But this position's fairly good. Again, casinos kind of offer these positions. You see them all over, security/EMTs. I've seen them at special events such as Coachella here in California, where they hire security officers that are also EMTs. And some people don't like that concept, right? They say either you're security or law enforcement, or you're a medical provider. You can't do both, but I disagree with that. There's a lot of just sit around and wait. So if you can do security at one moment and then do medical the next, I think you're just, in a sense, a jack of all trades, a better asset for that company, for your patients and your clients. But another great precision. Number 6 is for the new normal. This is currently the COVID testing and COVID vaccination as an EMT. So in California and in Los Angeles County, they did expand the scope of the EMT, or you can do COVID testing, you can help out with that, and then you can actually vaccinate. So it might be different in your area. I know a lot of people started expanding the scope all over the country, but in California it is allowed. You do need to take roughly a 2-hour course and be signed off by your medical director. Luckily, again, we had that position. I had a great medical director. They always provided the training. They were there. They were, as soon as it got approved by the state and the county, they were signing off on it too. Unfortunately, it is cheaper to pay an EMT than it is a paramedic or a nurse. I would say there's more EMTs across the state. Again, it's a simple credential to kind of attain. It's a quick credential. So I've worked at different venues, being an observer for adverse reactions to the vaccines. Been able to help out with the mixing of the vaccine prep, the storage, and then again, the vaccination. So, when COVID goes away, this might be a limited position, but it's definitely a valuable experience for the next pandemic, if there are any, or just again, giving vaccines IM, or being around needles, mixing all this stuff. Great experience for this current new normal. Number 7, this is my current position. This is being an emergency manager. So compile every single other position I've been speaking about, and then that is what got me here, using my EMT credential, working currently in emergency management. And your EMT credential is great for this because you're helping create disaster medical plans. You're looking at the whole picture. You're conducting the yearly drills and exercises. You're helping buy gear for the whole company, the whole campus, your employer. You're helping prevent a lot of these things, mitigation efforts. You're dealing with homeland security, with security threats. You're working with local partners such as law enforcement, fire departments. You're working with the city, county, and state. Definitely great, because I remember when I just started off as an EMT, I remember thinking like, hey, maybe we should do more training on this topic. And now that's me. I'm the one that gets to put this training together, gets to put the drills together, make sure that the correct people are talking to each other, make sure there aren't duplicate efforts, making sure stuff's actually getting done, mass notification. All these things kind of are due to having my EMT credential. So again, from starting from a simple ambulance company, working executive protection, helping with the medical gear, with the medical training, everything compiled into this one. And I still get to use my EMT credential. I still renew it. I've been having my credential for roughly 5 years. So I'm going to keep renewing it. It allows me to kind of get some hands-on and train other EMTs that we have on staff, kind of work with our medical director, responding to emergencies, working with nurses, nurse practitioners, you name it. I think the EMT credential has definitely given me the hands-on experience that I needed and confidence to help me in this current position. But that's going to be emergency management. And people call it emergency preparedness, risk management, disaster response. It's all the same thing.